The effects of childhood trauma. A child's life is supposed to be filled with love, compassion, and learning. A child's life is supposed to be filled with play dates, imaginary adventures, learning experiences. Children are supposed to feel loved, supported, protected by their loved ones. Children depend on the caregivers for guidance and support. Unfortunately, around the world, this is not the case for many children. Many children are neglected, starved, abused, and uncared for. Children who face these unbelievable circumstances are truly and deeply changed. Children go from exploring to having to fight for survival. Countless of children around the world have to deal with this unspeakable horror. 2 out of 3 children are are reported to be to use drugs and alcohol when they're older because of the childhood trauma that they experienced when they were a child. According to research conducted by Statista, in the United States alone, over 680,000 children were neglected to social services were neglected and reported to social services last year. Children who live in an unstable home are most likely to struggle and not prosper in school. In the mid-1990s, the CDC and Kaiser Permanente discovered a revelation between increase of 7 out of 10 leading causes of disease. A lot of these were related to brain trauma. Children who are neglected, mistreated, have a higher risk of developing these diseases. They're exposed to such high stress that leads them to heart disease, lung cancer, and a 20-year life decrease. And that's extremely hardening and sad that their life exposures make them lose life. Different parts of the brain work together to function. However, when children are exposed to trauma, different parts of the brain can become damaged, which can result in delays that affect learning and behavioral development. When long-term trauma affects the emotion regulating center, this part of the brain becomes very vulnerable and very weakened. These parts of the brain that are affected are the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. When the individual has trauma to each part of the brain, they will have scars that last them a lifetime. Okay, the 3 parts of the brain, the amygdala, is a section of the nervous system that is responsible for emotions and survival instincts. If it is overused, it is going to go into overdrive and become hyperactive. When becomes hyperactive, this individual will have more sensitive to fears. There'll be more, the individuals or children who really affect this part of the brain will become a lot more scared. This leads to the hippocampus. The hippocampus is a complex structure that is reasonable for receiving and storing memories. When this hippocampus is damaged, individuals are not able to retain as much information as they were once able to. The prefrontal cortex, when that is damaged from trauma, it does not function properly, which leads to having a difficult time regulating fears. Children don't know how to stop feeling the fear. They are in constant fear mode, and they don't know how to differentiate reality. They don't know what is real and what is not. They have a really hard time processing life. How does trauma connect to learning? Children who suffer from trauma are constantly in the fight or flight mode. Many children are trying and fighting to stay afloat. When children experience horrific events, the school setting can feel like a battleground for them. These children are constantly figuring out who is trying to hurt them and who is not. They can't regulate their emotions. According to Cunnings, persuasive stress response and related behaviors displayed by children who are experiencing trauma ultimately lead to development of setbacks and learning challenges. If not addressed, this results in children becoming so overwhelmed in their emotions that they have such a hard time connecting with everyone around them. These children often are the children who do not want any type of relationships with adults or their peers, leading them to fall into a very dark and depressed state of mind when in around people. However, it has been proven by research that schools have such a big impact on these children. A school is a place where a child can feel safe. It's a place where a child has consistency. It's a safe place to go and feel welcomed. A school will always be a place where a child can receive the help they need. It's a safe haven and reassurance for a child. Strategies that can be used that a teacher can use when dealing with a child with trauma. Something that truly works and I have seen work is the PBIS strategy. What is PBIS? PBIS is a protective aid foundation that helps all students in schools achieve social, emotional, and academic success. PBIS really amplifies what to do and how to help children behave and feel more accepted in a classroom. For instance, in a classroom setting, a teacher is to always have active supervision. He or she is always constantly aware of what's going on in the classroom. Provide boundaries for students. Students need to know their high expectations, need to know what they can and cannot do in a classroom setting. Instead of scolding the student out in front of everyone, the teacher needs to learn how to use proximity. As the student is misbehaving, the teacher transfers herself to that area while ignoring the behavior, but making it aware that making the child aware that they are being watched, and really modeling for the students who often struggle need just a quick reminder of the expectation or reassurance of that they are or not are they are doing the correct thing. Positive feedback is another major thing that children want. You're positively praising their efforts. As long as they're putting effort, you're constantly building that relationship and giving them that positivity. A big thing in a school is to use common school language. A child does not want to go into 5 different classrooms and feel lost because things are completely different in each classroom. Using common school language will help the child feel structured. And really implementing the tier system, PBIS tier system, in a classroom setting, having tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, where you know that your tier 2 and tier 3 children are going to need that extra love and support. Helping a child in need is a major aspect in trauma. Children who have trauma will struggle in school. A teacher's job is to make sure that they provide the best and most qualified strategies to be implemented for the child so that the child feels successful.